Today I want to ask the question, could a new museum of contemporary art in Brussels look like? I got this idea from the show, The Absent Museum, that took place in 2017 in the Wiels here in Brussels, a 10th anniversary. I was asked to make 6 videos about the art scene in Brussels, and I decided to structure them around institutions and exhibition spaces, and around the question, what do you collect and how? I remember Alexander Kluge saying something about collecting is the beginning of poetry. In other words, a collection does not necessarily consist of physical objects when it comes to Kluge. My decision to start with the Wiels was quite clear from the beginning, as it is an exhibition venue with global attention and standards. It was founded in 2007. It has 1,700 square meters exhibition space divided on 3 levels. The curatorial team consists of the director Dirk Snauwert and 3 curators. The senior curator Zoe Gray came in 2014 and replacing Elena Filipovic, who is now the director of Kunsthalle Basel. Alongside the exhibition, The Absent Museum, the Wiels released a catalog with Yale Press. The catalog gives an overview over the show, and it includes 3 essays that deal with the question that I raised in the beginning. How could a new museum of contemporary art in Brussels look like? The thing is that even though the Wiels is not a museum, as it doesn't have a collection, the questions around museums of the 21st century are very present in the Wiels. Let's start to look at the essays. The title of the essay by Charles Ash is Absences Felt and Unfelt. He became the director of the Van Abbe Museum in 2004, and he describes the state of the collection at the turn of the century as almost entirely orientated towards a Western European, modern, white, and largely male heterosexual narrative. Furthermore, he writes that in 2004, when he started his directorship, the geography and ideology of the collection was simply stretching from New York to Vienna, as his predecessor Rudi Fuchs described in 1982. And he describes how he reacted to that by acquiring art of female artists, art from the former socialist states of Europe, and works questioning artistic autonomy and the dominance of economic growth in Western society. He then introduces an approach of decolonial thinking by referring to a short piece of writing titled Euro Everything by Eduardo Galeano, and with a reference to the decolonial thinkers Walter Mignolo and Boaventura de Sousa Santos. He says that the collection should move on into an unclear future. I'm not sure what that means. He says the collection should remember and applaud what was modern as well as criticize and debunk. He introduces his idea of demodern thinking as a parallel and subsidiary aspect to decoloniality and decolonial thinking. About the role of the museum, he says, we Europeans need to reconsider our place and our culture's place in the 21st century world. We have to take the focus of what was previously the whole view. Museums are places where society tells stories to itself. And about the Canal Centre Pompidou project that was launched this year in Brussels, which is basically a franchise branch of the French Museum Centre Pompidou. He says that it avoids having to confront the lack of a contemporary national mythology that an independent Brussels institution would have to face. I put down some critique points of the Canal Centre Pompidou project. First, it doesn't focus on a Belgian identity, it's rather a French identity. Second, it doesn't include starting a new collection, it refers to the Centre Pompidou collection. And there is not enough local involvement in terms of including the whole society of Brussels, or at least representatives of that. Essay by Manuel Borja-Villel, the director of the Museo Reina Sofia in Madrid, starts with a reference and description of a short film by Pierre Lini from 1967. titled Che cosa sono le nuvole, meaning what are clouds. The film revolves around a performance of Shakespeare's Othello as a marionette theater, with the marionettes played by actors. Strangely, the Othello character does not understand why he has to kill Desdemona, and Desdemona is incapable of understanding Othello's perplexity. The rules of theatrical representation are finally totally broken down when the spectators invade the stage and, in an outburst of riotous fun, carry the performers out on the streets. Borja-Villel writes, why does Pasolini want Othello to rebel against his character? What is the meaning of the public uprising and its transgression of the rules of theater? He writes furthermore, what the film suggests is that while the text or the language we speak do indeed determine us, it is equally true that we have the capacity to rewrite them and act upon them to transform them. While modernity promised people happiness without taking them into account, Pasolini's story unfolds thanks to the spectator. He writes that the production of memory is social. Memory is configured through the experience of remembering together. Referring to the institution, he says that it is necessary to rethink the institution in terms of a communality that constitutes neither a state public sphere nor a private one, but instead resides at the edge of both. And then he introduces his idea of the common, a term that he also refers to in the title of the essay. About the role of the museum, he says that it is fundamental to get institutions to return to society what they take from it, so that what is common is not usurped by the individualities that make up that background. And he goes on by saying that we must propose a sort of universal archive, a confederation of institutions that share the works stored in their centers and most of all the experiences and narratives that are generated around them. This is the website of Confederazione Internazionale, a confederation of 6 art institutions, among them the Museo Reina Sofia. I want to return to a slide. The production of memory is social, memory is configured through the experience of remembering together. I think this is a very important thought concerning a museum of the 21st century. There is a third essay in the book, written by Dirk Snauwer, the director of the Wiels. He refers to history and society as well, but he also mentions a fundamental part of museums and art centers, the artworks, in the following way. The museum was the choice venue for the individual experience of symbols and metaphors that accompanied and influenced the shaping of new society. It is on the polyphony of symbolic systems in which free opinions can develop and on the private and public voices that reinterpret and renew the symbolic systems. And he writes that an exhibition is the ideal moment, firstly for artists to create intellectually meaningful poetic expressions with their installations, and secondly for critical viewer thinkers to crank up the public debate with their comments. Okay, that was the summary of the 3 essays from the book The Absent Museum. The book is available in your favorite bookstore. I think it's between 35 euros and 40 euros or dollars. I learned a lot about museums, about history, about society, about the role of the museum in society and history, while examining the reader basically of the Absent Museum show. Of course, the Absent Museum show was an actual art show, so an exhibition. So there are images of of the show available on the website and in the book as well. Yeah, that's it from me for today. See you soon when it's time again for the next video about the art scene in Brussels, when it's time again for Let's Talk About Art.